Welcome to the pilot episode of our very own Magic the Gathering Deck Doctor series, where we take your deck builds and give you our ways of improving them. We'll also open the floor to the community by asking for your constructive criticism of the deck, of our suggestions, etc., and comment it down below. If you'd like to have your deck featured, you may do so by sending in the deck list and the strategy to the channel's Facebook page or emailing the list to us. And remember, if you like this series, to hit that button down below to let us know you want more. Let's get started on this deck list. This list was sent to us by Ryan B, and it's a take on the classic blue robots build. We have a Darksteel Juggernaut, a playset of Etched Champions, 2 Fairy Mechanists, 3 Grand Architect, a pair of Master of Ethereum, a playset of Memnite, 2 Signal Pest, 4 Silvermere, 3 Steel Overseers, and a Wormcoil Engine to round out our creature base. We have an Aether Vial, 3 Cranial Plating, a Loxodon Warhammer, 2 Stoic Rebuttal, and a pair of Tezzeret the Seeker, and a playset of Thoughtcast for the non-creature spells. Finally, 16 Islands, an Academy Ruins, and a set of Darksteel Citadel for our land base. This deck is very straightforward, and the idea of what it wants to do is very clear. We want to get out the artifacts, we want to buff them up, and we want to smack face. A few things I would recommend when building decks like this is to make sure you have playsets of the key cards. Granted, some cards like the Wormcoil Engine we wouldn't want to run a full playset depending on our build, and sometimes they are expensive. Wormcoil Engine goes for almost $20 a pop, and budgets may be less than ideal, but we do have a few things that we can do to this deck to help it churn out the good stuff faster. To start, Ethereum Sculptor will help lessen the cost of your artifacts. It's also a 2-drop artifact creature common, so it should be relatively easy to acquire. In the same vein, Chief Engineer will also help you cast your artifact spells. While it's not an artifact creature itself, it does give our artifact spells Convoke, letting you drop the bigger, expensive threats quicker and cheaper. While on the subject of cheap artifact spells, Ornithopter is almost an auto-include. Sure, it has 0 toughness, but the ability to drop several artifacts and work up our artifact count for as little mana as possible is always useful. Plus, we could also drop some Ensoul artifacts in the deck if we wanted to make our Thropters a 5/5 flying creature on turn 2. These cards help boost the amount of cheap creatures we can pump out our early game, and they can come in handy later on if we need to convoke something big in. I would recommend cutting the Warhammer and the Silvermere. The Warhammer is good to boost up our attackers, but we want to streamline the process of getting out more artifacts and having everything able to attack the opponent. The Silvermere, while I understand it functions as a mana dork in this deck, can be removed and be replaced by something better, like Renowned Weaponsmith, who gives you double colorless mana for your artifact spells. Realistically, while the Aether Vial finds its home in many modern decks, it really doesn't have the same amount of impact in this deck. Finally, let's talk about some of the major upgrades that this deck can have. These cards are the bigger investments for the deck, so like $10 and up cards, and will help bring this deck to a more polished form. Mox Opal will be the perfect way to get your mana ramp up early game. Master Transmuter can effectively blink your creatures, which can help them dodge most removal spells. She can also blink herself. Blightsteel Colossus is super expensive to cast, but with both the Convoke ability, as well as the huge amount of ramp, cost reduction, and cheating into play this deck can contain, it should be no issue cheating it into play. In the same vein, Darksteel Forge will make your board indestructible, and again can be cheated out using various means like the Colossus. Of course, this deck can be upgraded to its ultimate form, which is basically a modern affinity robots deck, but that's a very pricey investment and quite a few significant upgrades. For our final list, we have made the deck a lot more streamlined. We're still focusing on getting out the artifacts and aggressively hitting the opponent with them, but we're running a lot more efficient mana production to get the higher costed bombs onto the battlefield. We also have the ability to make our board state immune to most board wipes thanks to the Darksteel Forge and our Transmuter, and we've added a lot more artifact support on the low end of the curve. But this is just some of the changes that can help this deck become more efficient and improved. What would you recommend? Let us know in the comments down below what your recommendations would be. The more feedback that we can get for this deck, the better its builder can build it. The goal of the deck was to raise the power level of the deck without going too high over budget. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Deck Doctor. Let me know if you want to see more by liking and sharing this video. This was a really fun experiment to try out, and I'd love to continue doing more videos like this one. Let me hear your feedback in the comments below, and remember to subscribe to the Planeswalker Project for more Magic the Gathering videos like this one. And thank you!